Chapter 30. A New Empire. The time of the Queendom has come to an end. The system of decadence with peace and prosperity and civility is no more. Now that the sandy foundations of prosperity have been washed away, we are only left with the barrenness of a people without a foundation. As such, prosperity was not a true peace, but a delaying of the inevitable, a clash between two incompatible values: the value of loyalty to one's nation and God, against the imperialism of avarice and arrogance. And now I see clearly who is on each side. For though you may have called us an oppressive empire, we were the ones who brought your people out of the pits of despair. Yet now you bite the hands that gave you new life. And so what if your rebellion happens to succeed? What will you have gained? Thousands of pointless deaths? Isolation from the rest of the world? A breakdown of the civil order and peace and the rise of warlords and dictators? For even Poxera VII, with all her faults, failed to achieve the level of usurpation you accuse her of, having forced the nymphs into your confederacy of South Selene, as slaves, having forced the elves to become merely a puppet of your regime. Never once has Poxera invaded your province and forced them into submission, when your province willingly accepted being part of the Queendom. And what is this all about? A couple of light and transient causes, and a couple of anathematized heretics in the 16th century? Therefore I make you this ultimatum, you confederacy of South Selene. You either put an end to your rebellion and make peace, or you will be utterly destroyed without pity nor mercy. For by your very actions, you have become the enemy of the people, and of the common good. Emperor Umbriel I. Emergency powers. After hearing reports of one of the Confederacy's 3 carriers and multiple capital ships were sunk by only a handful of fighters, President Vixarina Lunsaro called a joint session of the Confederate Parliament to address emergency powers towards the war effort. Vixarina began her speech, saying, "It has come to mind the interest of the public that our capabilities to gain independence from the Selenese Empire is heavily hampered by our aging arsenal of American and Selenese hand-me-downs. Therefore, I request emergency powers to take command of a small part of the economy, to dedicate it to military production, and I will lay down these powers as soon as this crisis has been averted." The members of the Confederate Parliament then applauded, as they voted to grant Vixarina emergency powers. Vixarina then returned to her presidential residence and spoke with her General Lee Sampson. Vixarina then asked, "Has the coup been successful towards Elven Euphasia?" General Lee Sampson then answered, "King Louis VIII and his family have been overthrown. The useful idiots we employ to do so will be executed shortly." Vixarina then laughed. "Ha! Good. And they thought they'd actually share in the power. I love democracy." I also report that Ironhenge is fully operational, and has proven to be an extremely effective weapon against the Selenese Empire's space and air forces. Now the Confederacy is immune to all likelihood of orbital bombardment and air raids without the Empire taking mass casualties. Finally, a means to eradicate those pests. But what about the ringtail? I keep hearing rumors of a certain Tanuki ace destroying our best pilots in an inferior aircraft. I have also heard the rumors and seen the reports. Even a few Nightstalker pilots had to eject because of that Tanuki. That's why I'm leaving Yako Squadron and our best aces in charge of defending Ironhenge. And if that Tanuki and its squad shows up, we're going to need all the aces we can get. But why would the Tanuki clan send one of their best to fight on the side of the Selenese Empire? Simple, because we have Kitsunes on our side. It's a test run of their capabilities against each other in their personal conflict that has nothing to do with us. Then let's keep their conflict outside of us. Depending on whether the TCI Interceptor or the KCAS-21 Coonhound has a better track record. That would be our choice of new air superiority fighter. If we're losing our expensive equipment to outdated communist-era weapons and vehicles, then we need a complete overhaul of our military. I disagree. There's no reason Nightstalkers, the best air superiority fighters money can buy, should be losing to communist-era Black Cats and TCI Foxhounds. What we need is not better equipment, but better logistics and training. And because of this failure to properly train our soldiers and pilots, we only have a few Nightstalkers left. And without proper logistics, even KCAS 21s and TCI Foxhounds are difficult to replace. Are you questioning my decision-making? I'm simply stating the obvious. With our current logistics, we cannot afford to have a long, drawn-out war while the Selenese Empire can, with its much larger population and natural resources. That should have been obvious after the mass killing of the royal family, which did not do as expected. Kigore Umbriel is now the emperor, giving the empire more resolve than ever, and he is the one that nearly defeated the hyperpower of Zulshara. Then tell me what you need, and I'll play the politics in our favor. Reunion. After Natalia reunited with Titania and Ariana, Queen Ariana asked, "Let me guess, you're the ringtail the Imperial propaganda speaks about?" Natalia then answered, "Seems like it, but without the rest of Furry Squad, I probably wouldn't be here today. Besides, when the Imperial command structure finally figured out I didn't actually make an attempt in your life, they let me go, along with Wolf, Finnegan, and Bill." Queen Ariana then inquisitively asked, "Then who targeted the Concordia and impersonated your voice?" Finnegan then interjected, "Kitsune is under the command of the Southern Confederacy, specifically Sozun Yako, the image of Inari's right paw hand Nojitsune protogen." Victor then remained silent, knowing what his sister had just done. Victor then thought out loud, "How could my sister have done this?" Finnegan then overheard Victor, "Because she's a greedy whore who profits off countries killing each other. It's why she funds both sides in this civil war." Victor then shook his head in disbelief. This doesn't seem like something she would do, though. If she really wanted to profit off this conflict, she would have done a lot more by now. Besides, it was Yako's doing and not hers, and he would not have fired if he knew I was on there. We have too much respect for each other, and he wouldn't risk my sister's punishment for it. Finnegan then crossed his arms and brushed his tails against the ground. But he did, so what now? He probably didn't know until after the fact, when I used my ethereal magic to save everyone aboard the Concordia. No magical resonance sensor could have not picked that up, and Yako probably lied saying it was a glitch so his squad members wouldn't go for a second pass. Finnegan then relaxed, looking Victor in the eye. If I didn't respect you as much as I do, I wouldn't believe Yako would ever disobey orders like that, or think for himself. Not after this protogen augmentation, so Inari could torture him remotely for his disobedience. I think you underestimate Yako a little too much. He probably already removed the control chip so Inari couldn't control him like that. Plus, Inari would never knowingly send Yako after me. Now that I think about it. She never even sent Yako after Zenko, despite being close friends with Buck, and Inari hates Tanukis way more than Yako ever did, if at all. Natalia then said, "Still, we need to get Titani back to Kansas safe, and in one piece. And unfortunately, the closest spaceport is in Solsara, and we have to pass the Confederacy of South Selene. And neither the TCI Interceptor nor the Nightstalker stealth fighter has a passenger seat, so it's not like we can just fly past the Confederacy undetected." Buck then asked, "Does that mean we're stuck here until either side destroys the other in this pointless war?" Natalia then crossed her fuzzy arms and sighed. "Looks like it. Never thought I'd ever serve an autocratic regime, but it looks like we're out of options here. At least I still got you." "Yep. It honestly seems like serving the Empire until the American reinforcements can get us all out of here is our best bet. Even Colonel Saunders, who got relocated from Area 51 to here, agrees. So that's why he's got his forces allied with the Selenese Empire for the time being. So long as the Confederacy has Iron Henge online, the Space Force can't get into a safe distance for orbital bombardment and evac. Crazy to think a 1980s railgun system could split an Andrew Jackson dreadnought in half, but it can. Well, shit. Looks like we're out of luck then. That's why I'm volunteering to get in a Nightstalker with Finnegan and Wolfie, so we can take out those railgun systems. I'm not doing this for selfish reasons to get back at Yako, but for your sake as well as Titania's. And if I don't come back... Buck then looked worried and said, Natalia, don't say it. Natalia then looked at Buck softly. If I don't come back, I want you to know I love you. You're the best mission partner I could have asked for. Take care of Titania and your family for me, alright? Buck then grabbed Natalia. Don't do it, Natalia. I'll get in that Nightstalker instead of you. Natalia then gently put his paw hands off her. I doubt you can even fly a plane, and our country needs me. I'm doing this for you, and I have made peace with it. Pray I come back for you. Victor then said to Buck, let her go. She's doing this for all of us, and not just herself. Finnegan then interjected. Besides, Sonny, Bonnie, and Zenko need you. And sure, I don't like this as much as you do, but there's no point in wasting your life on something you know you can't succeed in. We know we're going to run into Yako taking out those railguns, and he would eat you alive in a heartbeat. That's why the American command structure is sending us Nightstalkers, because they know TCI interceptors won't cut it against their air defenses and aces. And lucky for you, Natalia has proven herself in a Nightstalker race, and against Yako in an inferior aircraft. And together, we have a pretty good fighting chance taking out those railguns, and Yako, and those aces with him. Natalia then said, well, I better get going. But one more thing before I go. Natalia then embraced Buck while slowly kissing him on the cheek. Finnegan then said, well, time for us to get transferred to our Nightstalkers. Let's give Yako those Confederates hell. Did you know this? Historical references to the rise of fascism and communism. The way the Confederates treated Elven Euphrasia and the nymphs was a reference to the historical events regarding to the fascists gaining power in the 1930s in Germany, and the communists overthrowing the Russian government. In like manner, both groups executed the people that put them into power and enforced a totalitarian regime, while feigning democracy, and pretending to care about the will of the people. Ironhenge inspiration. Ironhenge was based on a real-world proposed railgun defense system against hypersonic missiles and ICBMs from the Soviet Union in the 1980s. It was also based on a fictional superweapon called Stonehenge from the Ace Combat series. In fact, the whole Selenese Civil War arc is kind of a parody of Ace Combat and other flying games like Star Fox and Star Wars Squadrons.